Hi guys. So as I said, I'm gonna teach you the basic parts of the bow, and I guess I'm just gonna show you the bow and everything that has to do with. So this is a bow. Let me just yeah, and I'm just gonna teach you the basic parts really quickly right now. Up here's the tip, obviously. This is the stick. Those white parts are the bow hairs. This is the winding. This metal part is called the ferrule. This is the frog, this black part. And this is the adjusting screw. Something I just want to mention out real quickly is that after you're done practicing or playing with the bow, you should always want to loosen the bow, and this is how it should look when it's loosened. And as you can see, the hair is like very separated, and it's just kind of hanging there. You see a piece that's like below the other ones, and it's just very loose. And it's just like maintenance of the bow to just loosen it. And I will teach you how to tighten it and loosen it and how tight it should be and all that other stuff. So to tighten it, you want to move the screw to the right, and as you can see, it's starting to get tightened, well, tighter obviously, and you can see how it's all together now. No hairs are like sticking underneath or anything like that. And you want to tighten enough that you see kind of like a curve on the stick, which basically says it's tight enough. You don't want it to be too tight, so just make sure you can see the curve, and as soon as you can see the curve, it's fine. But you don't want to have any hairs sticking down or anything like that, because then it's too loose. Something I wanted to mention earlier is rosin. And rosin, basically, when you do this, it just leaves like dust particles more or less on your bow, and that causes the bow to those particles to get kind of okay, let me just explain this the way my music teacher explained this to me. The rosin leaves like little particles, and when you start bowing, the string of the violin gets cut on those particles, producing the vibrations that produces the sound. And if you do have a brand new violin and you've never put rosin on the bow, chances are it won't produce a sound when you it won't produce a sound when you start to play with it on the string, unless you put rosin on it. So that's just that. And also, if your rosin doesn't look like mine, that's perfectly fine. They sell rosin that has like a caramel almost color, like a honey color. There's red rosin, there's black rosin like mine, and it just depends on where you buy it. But all rosin pretty much the same. It all does the same thing. So that's one thing I wanted to teach you. Then I just want to teach you really quickly how to hold it. So how to hold it is just basically you have your pinky at the adjusting screw. You want to make sure it's like relaxed. You don't want any of your fingers locked. Like nothing should be like really tense. You can have your fingers up here on the wood. I know some players like to hold it like over here, holding the frog, but I hold it up here. Either way is acceptable as long as you're comfortable. And then your thumb is also one thing I want to point out. You always want to have your thumb kind of in a very happy. It looks kind of like a happy face. It's like curved upwards like this. You don't really want to have it bent like that, because I've seen some players. I do see like new players try to hold it like this, and that's just not how you do it. Another preference you can have is some people like to put their finger completely inside the hole like that, and some people just like kind of have to like to hold it at the very edge where the frog meets the the stick, and that's kind of how I play. And so it's just personal preference. And you want to have your finger at the winding and again relax, but you do want to make sure that you can add pressure to it, like lean your finger into it if you really wanted to, because that produces more of a stronger sound when you play. So I'm just going to teach you really quickly. So again, you want to hold it right, everything right. I do recommend practicing this in a mirror because you can see what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. You want to hold it right as well, and this will hurt, especially when you're holding it like this for long periods of times. Your arms will start to get tired, but eventually it will be fine. Your hand will feel uncomfortable like this as well. You might get cramps, but like, you know, hand cramps, but eventually they will stop and you will feel more comfortable doing it. But it does hurt at first, so you're just gonna have to stick with it. Again, you want to make sure your posture is right. If you're sitting down, if you're standing, you still have to stand upright and do all that basic steps. So when you're bowing, you want to make sure that you start at the frog, because most songs, the majority of songs, start with a down bow, and I will show you the little how you know basically when it's down bow or up bow, because each song tells you. So I will show you what it looks like in a minute in songs. But when you bow, you want to make sure that your bow stays in the middle between the fingerboard and the bridge. You don't want it to go all crazy like this or start to go crazy and end up on the fingerboard. And to do that, you have to keep your elbow a little bit above your wrist as you're bowing. You have to go crazy dramatic, but you just want to have it a little bit, so it kind of stays where you want it to. So then I would recommend this exercise. Basically, you grab a metronome, you put it at 4 beats, as in it counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would recommend going down bow and then counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and once you reach to 4, you should be near the end of your bow. You don't have to go all the way to the end, all the way to like the very tip, because it's just unnecessary, but you should be fairly close to it because you want to use as much bow hair as possible to create a fuller sound. And then once you stop there, count again 4, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4. And once you stop at 4, you should be near the frog. And just keep doing that. Now when you go from the frog to the tip, that's a down bow. When you go from the tip to the frog, that is an up bow. And I do recommend just doing that exercise in the mirror, because watching me do it isn't really going to help you. You need to practice, obviously. But I would recommend that exercise because, again, it helps with timing and it just helps with the control. Again, I would recommend using a mirror for this and just kind of practicing doing like that, and look once in a while to make sure your bow isn't going on the fingerboard. And you can usually tell because rosin leaves little marks on the string. I don't think you can really see it from here, but you will be able to see if it's on the fingerboard because there will be white dust on it. So again, since we're done playing, we untighten it by unscrewing it all the way to the left. You don't want to make it too unloose that the screw comes off, because that can happen. But it's just so the hairs are just kind of loosely hanging there. As you can see, it's back from the original position where the hairs are kind of hanging down. And I'm just going to teach you very quickly what a down bow and up bow is. And I recommend getting this book. It's okay if you don't, because I will be talking about most of the stuff that's in here. But this is the book for beginners, Violin Book 1. And I'm just going to show you really quickly what an up bow and a down bow looks like, because I know I show it here somewhere. Here we go. So this is the down bow and up bow. Oh, sorry. Down bow is the top one, and it kind of looks like a house, and the up bow looks like a V. So you can just kind of tell from there. And songs will tell you. Soundscape, the one that we're going to be playing, starts on a down bow. So I just want you guys to get used to kind of doing that. Again, I do recommend the exercise that I taught you earlier, and I do recommend keeping to practice plucking with 2 fingers, because even though the song that we are playing does not involve plucking, the future songs might, especially if you're going to take this very seriously. So keep plucking and practice the D scale. And if you want to get advanced, you can grab your bow and the metronome and just count 4 beats up and down the D scale. So 3, 4. And then you can go back down. My violin's probably not in tune because I wasn't really, I was just going to teach you guys the bow, but I guess I got carried away. But I do recommend using a tuner while you're doing that, and make sure you use the full bow. And just make sure you're in tune. And also practice plucking, because again, plucking really helps with timing. But other than that, I think you guys got it. So practice that, and I'll see you guys on the next video.